Hello, I'm Cat, and after years of teasing and waiting, Minecraft announced the vibrant visuals just 2 weeks ago, but it's already in the Bedrock preview, and this video won't be a review, but instead I want to give you a collection of the things I've seen that are good, and things that are not so much after testing this on 3 separate platforms. This was released as a preview for a reason, and so it's important we give our feedback because it's not just a new way to experience Minecraft, it's going to be the developer vision for how it should look, and so that comes with certain standards. And speaking of certain standards, make sure you subscribe to the channel to see more Minecraft Bedrock videos. But let's start with the most important place, because everyone knows this has been coming for a while, and that's because the history is quite long, and I think the easiest place to start would be 2017, which is when Mojang first shared the super duper graphics pack. Now, outside of shaders, which have existed on Java for a very long time, this was unlike anything we'd seen in Minecraft from a console player's perspective, particularly when we're talking about first-party Microsoft coming in and actually making this themselves. However, presumably because of that, it was going to cost real money, and the release date was set at 2018. However, needless to say, that did not happen, and the closest we got was RTX. RTX was a promotion launched with Nvidia to take advantage of the ray tracing on their higher-end cards. This is something that existed and was fully functioning for free in the game. However, it required a high-end graphics card, and this made it a very lucrative partnership for Mojang, Nvidia, and even me, actually. But what's interesting is this was always a limited time partnership, and it was actually later renamed to DXR when they hinted it would be available for Xbox and PlayStation 5, and that was in late 2020. If you happen to have an Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5, you might just notice that it's not actually available because, yeah, DXR disappeared after a few years without ever releasing for any non-Nvidia card, but in its place came deferred rendering, which has been tested and previewed since 2023, and as of this year, it's gotten pretty good with all of the fun effects which are available throughout the game. It even came up in my future Minecraft updates video from January of this year, and here's what it looks like when you turn it on now. Oh. Takes a few seconds, but as you can see, this is going to be a brand new setting that will be enabled in Minecraft that allows you to enable things like shadows and fog and falling leaves all inside of the default game. Until now, this setting was locked behind resource packs, but as Vibrant Visuals was announced, they confirmed it would be a new graphical setting, which means it's going to be like the transition from simple to fancy, but now on a whole new level. Now we'll have vibrant visuals, which, to say the least, are incredible, but that brings us to the first impressions. My first thought when loading this up was, wow, I think this looks incredible. Every single source of light, every single surface is looking so much better, but what's even more incredible is I first tested, and right now I'm showing you, Xbox One footage, and so this is running on a 2013 console. I'm amazed that it will look this good if you choose to run it there, and I'm amazed that I can have the max render distance and still get FPSs in the 30-ish regions. Now, it is worth mentioning a few things about this. One is the fact that its default brightness tends to be so, in Minecraft itself, you want to have 90 to 100, but in this, you want to have somewhere between about 20 and 30. That's where you'll get the best performance, but also notably, performance does tend to suffer on lower end devices. I'm getting about 30 FPS at the best here. When it comes to a lot of mobs being on screen or being in a long-term survival world like this, that did tend to drop to somewhere between 17 and 25, and there's a bunch of settings which are meant to optimize performance, because the settings for this are hugely interesting to me, but they're settings that are meant to optimize performance, but they ended up giving me only a few more frames per second. Even when I turned my render distance down to the minimum, if I turned everything down to low, it still meant that I wasn't getting many more frames because there is just kind of a fundamental limit which you can't really bypass on older consoles. So for older long-term survival worlds, you'll obviously want to be playing with the fancy graphics settings where you'll get closer to 60 FPS if you have a last generation console, but what if you have a current gen one? So I did a lot of testing on the Xbox Series X, but I figured just for the fun of this first impression segment, let's do some testing on the PlayStation 5, which recently got a native version of Minecraft, and which might be able to handle things with the same level of ease. Okay, took a little bit of effort to update it, but here I am now on the latest beta for Minecraft PlayStation 5. Except actually, if you check that version number, it's 12180.26. There is no such beta or preview that exists, to the best of my knowledge, so looks like we're at least not with a changelog that's out there. So let me show you now how to access this from a brand new platform. So first we're going to want to get a world. We'll just use 297 for now, to be simple. And, oh, this is a world I was deliberately trying to lag test the PlayStation on. So, you know, this is a great example of one. And then you want to go to experiments and then go to the vibrant visuals, which is a graphical setting, which changes the way your world looks. Once you've done that, you'll then need to load up your world. So my Xbox world took me about 2.5 minutes to load up. It's one of the most crazy things you can watch in real time. Whereas a PlayStation 5, which is a Series X equivalent, will load it up in just... actually, not just anything at all. Oh yeah, 30 seconds though. And once you're in the game, it should automatically load, but just in case it doesn't, then once you've turned on this experimental toggle in the beta, then you can go to video, then you can scroll down to the vibrant visuals, and then you can tell it to favor performance or favor visuals. And yeah, we're just gonna set it to custom, set everything to max, as well as setting our render distance with this all the way up to 24, because that is how I tested it on my Xbox One. Let's see how it looks. Or performs, rather. As you can see, it lags down to about 20 FPS when we're looking at 10,000 chests. Chests are treated as an entity in Minecraft, so this is the same as me just having, you know, like a few hundred mobs sitting around. But if we look in any other direction, you can see that immediately it locks right back up to 60 FPS. This is max render distance while flying around, max performance, max settings, and it's working perfectly on a PlayStation 5, which is nuts. However, for it to be a fair test, we need to use my Let's Play world, and so, as beautiful as this world is, and again, look at these shadows. They're so clever, it even takes advantage of my cape. You can see that it literally, you can see the cape is in the shadow too. It is such a clever shadow compared to what we've seen before. If I pick up a block, you can see the block in the shadow, or not. If I were to pick up a trident, it would work the same, or a mace is another great example. Look at that, it's just so fun, the way these shadows work. And also, the fact that they do work is a brand new thing we haven't seen in any deferred preview, at least to the best of my knowledge. But anyway, let's load up the Let's Play world, and let's see how it handles. It's been 5 minutes now, and the world is stuck on this importing screen. I'll give it a couple more minutes, but otherwise, Minecraft might have ruined my test. Okay, once the weird artifacts and purple glitch wore off, I've got to say, it looks beautiful. Minecraft in the rain has never looked better. Minecraft at night, let's be entirely honest, has never looked better. And yeah, this is something that I do have to say, but we're here for side-by-side testing. So here we are in the same part of the Let's Play world, and I'd like to quickly point something out. I have a sky-height sugarcane farm, so it goes up 320 blocks, and the cool thing about it is you'll see this shadow project itself really, really far, but as the sun comes up, it will slowly bring itself down. So if you use vibrant visuals, you'll get shadows that appear in different parts of your Minecraft world than you might be expecting, and those shadows are purely visual, but it's cool. You can see my sugarcane, and it's slowly moving across the world here. Anyway, what we can also see is a test of what vibrant visuals is like on our PlayStation 5. With the same resolution as the Xbox One, we're getting about double the frame rate, which is impressively not as high as you'd expect. Given that this is more than double as powerful of a console, you might expect more than that, but instead of getting about 20 FPS, we get about 40. Now, this isn't that much better in terms of raw numbers, but it is much better in terms of playability. Keep in mind that this is a particularly developed part of my Let's Play, as much as it doesn't look like it because I live inside of a cave, but it's a particularly developed part of my Let's Play, and instead of bouncing down from 17 to 20 FPS, we haven't gone below 30 yet. We've seen 33, 36, we're seeing 30s in the numbers, but it means that Minecraft is entirely playable, and it means that even the worst case scenario for long-time survival players is still going to be pretty good. Until you've got giant crazy mob farms, or literally hundreds of thousands of chests running around, you ultimately are going to get decent frame rates inside and out, and if you're in a brand new world, it's going to be much closer to 60. And so I think that is actually a pretty decent, sales pitch for the PlayStation 5. I think it's a very good sign that if you are playing on a current gen console, PS5 or Xbox Series X, you're going to be able to support vibrant visuals just great, especially if your world isn't over a gigabyte and doesn't have all of the weird things that my one does. This is entirely playable. It's not perfect, but it's perfectly playable. And we could probably make it even more so by lowering some settings. But how do both of these compare to a PC? It took me literally half an hour to get the Let's Play world on my PlayStation, by the way. And it took me literally 8 seconds to get it on my PC. Just want to point out, if you've enjoyed this video, and you think that half an hour of my time was well spent, or at least that you want to show appreciation for it, feel free to represent that in some way. Anyway, here we are on the PC. I actually have turned everything to the max, but I'll double check that it hasn't turned down to make sure this is a fair comparison. Max, 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 and 24 chunks of deferred render distance. Now what's interesting is on the PC, your frame rate will dip when new chunks are loading in, quite drastically in some cases, but here you can see that this is the platform that shaders, or rather vibrant visuals, was truly made for. Again, the number at the top we've been using to track our frame rate shows that instead of getting 20, or instead of getting 35, in the exact same world right here, it's my Let's Play world, I should know, but in the exact same world, we are now not seeing 60, which is the, kind of like tip of where most people draw the line at fully playable and fully responsive, but we're getting well past 60 into the 90s and getting close to 120 frames in some places. I'd be willing to bet even if we go outside of a developed part of the world, we'd be able to get not just 100 frames per second, but likely in excess, let's make some fireworks. Let's really test this at the edge of the world. I bet we'd be able to get much higher frame rates if we fly out into the distance. And so let's test it. Yep, the game runs great. Even while actively loading chunks, we can still get 120 FPS. And so, yeah, I think this isn't much of a surprise to anyone, but I think the level, the order of magnitude over which, a PC is currently beating a current gen console is something very, very interesting. Anyway, speaking of things that are interesting, outside of my own testing in my own world, I do want to point out something else which is very, very unique, and that is the fact that only on PC is there a key to turn off deferred rendering, or to turn off vibrant visuals, using just a single button. So this is something that's existed for the entirety of the testing, but right now, if you press the semicolon key, you can turn off all those settings. I think it sets it to simple by default, but that means we can massively improve our frame rates up to about 180, which isn't, again, as high as you'd expect, but we can then turn it back on using the same key, and this is actually something I think Minecraft needs to add for other platforms, because there are moments where you don't want to have vibrant visuals on. In my opinion, to be able to describe this as the best graphic setting, it should be the best at all times, but sadly, it's not. Now that we've gotten testing between devices out of the way, now it's finally time to talk about the things which are the same between all devices, and in particular, the issues. There are still quite a few issues that mean that this can't be considered a finished product, at least not one that you would want to apply in a long-term world without an easy way to turn it off, and the biggest reason behind that is the Nether just isn't functioning. I mean, if I give you my best example of a Nether biome, I would say it's the warped forest right here. As you can see, the trees glow in a way that is just delightful to look at. This biome has so much ambiance, but it also has less visibility than normal, something which truly follows everywhere else. There is this weird Nether cave fog that you can see in every single cave. I don't know why they would add this just for vibrant visuals. You're just making it worse, and you're not gaining any performance or real ambiance. You're just making the experience look terrible, and it gets so much worse by the time you get to like a Soul Sand Valley. I found that most Nether biomes are pretty well lit, but the Soul Sand Valley is like playing Minecraft with sunglasses on, except actually, and also turning your brightness down. It's absolutely terrible. You just cannot use the Soul Sand Valley without turning off the settings, and there's some other examples of things you might not even spot it until later, but here is a bastion that I found. As you can see, the bastion looks very cool and very atmospheric, but if we turn off vibrant visuals, we'd be able to see so much more. In effect, right now, the way this works in the Nether in particular is you are just nerfing your own ability to see. This isn't just true for the Nether, it's something that the game suffers from in many different parts, because it seems as though vibrant visuals was set up all with the intention of there always being a giant blob of light in the sky, which is true for at least one of the dimensions, and although they've sort of fixed it for caves, it's also broken not just for the Nether, but also for, say, looking underwater. I tried looking for buried treasure, and I just found it to be a nightmare dealing with this water texture. Water looks incredible, and it's great to look at when watching someone else play, but when playing it yourself, it's just kind of irritating. I spent all of this time just trying to mine blocks underwater, and it was giving me something that I can only really describe as like a headache. You know when you're looking at something and it's not just right, and you vaguely know what you should be doing? It feels like playing Minecraft, but with half an eye open. I don't know why, but it just was infuriating to me. All I wanted was a single diamond so that I could play the pig step that I got from that earlier bastion. Don't worry, I got it, by the way. Although, can't you see, even in this worst case scenario of it being raining and nighttime, it actually looks great. I would even say better than the base game in terms of visibility, and that's why I need to mention that even though there are all of these downsides, torches, the nether, the amount of times where you just can't see something you otherwise would be able to, I do have to say that I think there is so much more that is good than bad here. I mean, I've already obviously mentioned the fact that it's free and the fact that it works great on last gen hardware. I mean, we were sold the idea of better graphics on an Xbox Series X, which seemed optimistic, but amazingly you can get this on your super old, your decade old consoles or even your smartphone too. The fact that it will work on those older devices while looking this good is seriously a feat of witchcraft. If you try to do something similarly of this equivalence anywhere else on any other platform, it's going to break everything. But the truth is, you have to go really old hardware and really intensive worlds before you can get anywhere close to that, and that's why I have to say I think this is incredible. I think that the overall package is something I'm excited for, but for the conclusion, it's worth asking the question of, would I use this on my forever world when it's out? Would I use this on my longest term survivals? And would I use this just as my default way to play the game? The answer is not in its current form. As much as I enjoyed trying to do an entire run of Minecraft, I found myself getting to the nether and immediately thinking, wow, I wish I'd turned this off. The overworld is perfectly fine when there's enough light, and night is honestly better than day until you look at your torches, but there are too many issues with this that I would find myself wanting to switch it off, and were I playing on a platform without the easy switch off key, I think I would just choose to not have it on rather than deal with the performance issues in exchange for also hampering my game. However, I think that for screenshots, this is incredible. I think that for when you're playing exclusively in the overworld, which we know is a decent 90% of Minecraft players at any given point in time, this is a wonderful pack, and I hope that with the feedback that we can give it between now and its final release, we can end up somewhere that is great. However, even in spite of that, and even before this update does come out, I do have to make the point that there are a lot of people out there, probably myself included, where even if this was perfect across all dimensions, something would feel strange about turning it on. I think there is going to be a long transition period where a lot of people, myself included, are going to look at it with skepticism and say, well, Minecraft, I still see this to this day. Outside of screenshots, Minecraft gameplay just looks better, is more connectable, and it's something you can better relate to when it is the regular game. It's the same reason why, even though shaders have existed on Java forever, you won't catch most internet content using it, and most Minecraft players don't use them, because better visuals aren't a better game, and ultimately, even though I think these great visuals are something I am amazed by, and good job to Jappa, the art director, he seems to be very heavily involved in terms of the direction of this. I love all of the decisions that have been made to take that high quality tech and turn it into something people can use, but I would also say that it's something that is still going to remain a niche option for me personally, and I'm going to enjoy playing with it, but with all of these bugs especially, I probably wouldn't even do that outside of a PC where you can turn it off when you get into a problem situation. Anyway, with that said, thank you very much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and consider checking out the Super Flat Survival. I'm doing it in hardcore again this Sunday. Let's hope it goes well, okay? Goodbye.